So let's get this straight. You're living in one of the most foundationally racist countries, where police brutality is on full display. You are ridiculed in the workplace for wearing your natural hair. You are 5 times more likely to die during childbirth because of the color of your skin. You have to communicate with your children that in order for them not to be deleted by police, they must get smaller and act like they are in the 1920s. And you are worried about coming to another country because you heard that it's exactly the same. Well, let's dive into that. Welcome to the channel. I'm Ashley. On my channel, Ashley in Africa, I share my experience of living and moving and doing business here on the continent of Africa. I'm currently in Cape Town, South Africa, the office of my new business, Skyline Attorney Realtors. So excited about that. And I'm also the founder of Africa Investors Academy, which is a community of entrepreneurs that are living all over the world, building location-independent businesses with the goal of migrating to an African country to build a business and foster entrepreneurship here in Africa. So if this type of content resonates with you or you're interested in it, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who would also find value in it. So the intro of this conversation is mostly around the idea that people feel like they won't be accepted, or that America is better than what's happening here in South Africa. And I want to address that from my perspective. Okay. South Africa has a very dynamic history, a very complex history, a history that is still present in the way that the economy is dispersed, the way that people and families are experiencing day-to-day life. It's deep. It's very, very deep. But I will say that the people of South Africa are some of the most resilient people that I have experienced, just in so many ways. The level of intelligence, the level of intellect, the level of self-awareness, global awareness, it is on the rise. I think there is still a value system that exists in this country that is completely absent from the country where I come from, in the US. There are no values anymore. And, even if you say or founded on Christian values, I mean, no, just no. There are no collective values that exist. And we saw with the ICJ, the South African government stand up against the crimes being committed against the Palestinian people. I mean, the intentional removal of them as a people. We saw that, and that is a value of humanity. Meanwhile, we see Americans just kind of not being worried about it. And this is intentional, right? The freedoms that are afforded to us as Americans are contingent upon the wars that we instigate and we support against lesser military powerful nations. That's just what it is. And as Americans, we've become very comfortable in that. And living outside of America, you then realize, like, oh, America ain't, y'all are literally ravishing entire communities of people because they did it to us, right? I have, indigenous blood in my family, and the people, the indigenous Americans, are hardly even visible in America. I mean, they're becoming an extinct population as the indigenous people all over the world have been wiped out from many nations, right? Because of Western war. And, there are some similarities, but ultimately, when we look at the South African people, there is a collective harmony that exists. They all will come for you. If you are not South African and you talking about South Africa, that's one thing South Africans will do. They will come for you and they will come for each other when one misspeaks or steps out of line. You don't see that in the US. You see this complete cancel culture, removal of perspectives and opinions. And, there's no such thing as a perfect place, but I am saying that there is a level of cohesive harmony that maybe South Africans don't see, and they're going to come for me in the comments, but it's what I've seen from living here. I have an intentional desire to assimilate to the culture here. Why? Because there are some similarities. And, from Black American community, there are some trade influences. I don't want to say that South Africa is heavily influenced by African American culture, because yes, well, that is true, but there are some things that we're influenced by them that we don't even really know. And I think when we look at the creation of a thing, we got to look at the thing that was there the longest, right? And so food wise, culture wise, I think South Africans have been true to them before we even had an opportunity to be true to ourselves, right? So, there are some strengths. There are some powerful similarities. But I think the question is often, why are we so concerned with who is where and whether or not a person is going to feel a way about us, and allow that to determine how we move? Now, I will say I have never received anything but love from the South African people. But I always get asked during these consultations of like, well, how are they towards you as an American? And I think as an American, we hold an immense amount of privilege that we must use responsibly. And knowing that and having a level of empathy and compassion and responsibility is up to you. The similarities that we share as being, both oppressed people at some point in time also connect us and bond us in a way that they see us, even when we didn't see them, because through the lens of all we knew about South Africa was apartheid. And to most of our knowledge, that has never ended, because we hear the things that we hear. Again, there are remnants. There are things that absolutely need to change in this country, but the people are not playing and they're doing what they need to do. They're speaking truth to power. And, it's a slow process, but it's definitely taking place. It's definitely happening. But what we won't do and what we should not do, or let me not say the word should, what we won't do ever is to think that we can take things back to the past. Right? We always have to look towards the future and figure out how can we create something that is in the benefit of parties that are involved today. And that is important. We must reflect on future, but the reality is we're never going back. We must reflect on the past, but we're never going back. So we have to be strategic and intentional when we're looking at how we're creating the future. And listen, I'm not here to solve the problems of the South African people. I'm here to live my life, my best life at that, whilst contributing to the economy through the skills that I have, which is entrepreneurship and creator concepts, right? That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm supporting and helping in this time and in this season, and hopefully bridging a gap and reminding people that have an interest to move to the continent, specifically to South Africa, that there is a bridge for you. But don't let the concepts of what you heard someone say, or you heard someone who did a thing say, that you won't be accepted in this nation. In fact, you'll be welcome with open arms if you have an attitude of gratitude, a self-awareness enough to know that you are no longer in your home country, you are in someone else's country, and it is your responsibility to take that time to unlearn everything you thought you knew, because 9 times out of 10, everything you learned about South Africa is wrong. Everything you've learned, 9 times out of 10 9 times out of 10, right? Not completely, especially if you haven't been here and if you've learned about it through somebody else who hasn't been here. Google and all of the like, okay? Because there are intentions there. This requires an opportunity for compassion and empathy. And if you're not willing to do that, well, you probably won't be welcome here in South Africa. And so this takes an immense amount of self-awareness and support from a community that is willing to help you. And if you have an interest to move to South Africa, because based on my emails, my comments, and my DMs, everybody wants to know how to move to South Africa. And I want to help you. And we're helping you by creating a community, an opportunity, and an event where you can learn from experts and expats who have done it, who've been living in South Africa for a collective of 7 to 10 years, that are retired here, that are doing business, that are creating opportunities for others to invest in real estate, agriculture, water, technology. You're going to want to join us at the Travel, Move, and Do Business virtual conference for South Africa. If you've ever had an interest to travel, move, or do business, you're going to hear from people that have done it, right? So why avoid getting knowledge and making mistakes when you don't have to? I wish I would have had a forum like this to learn more about making a move here. We're gonna have immigration experts, because if you desire to stay long term, you will need to go through a formal immigration process to stay here. Now, if you want to travel here as an American, you are allowed to do so visa free, but you're going to learn all of the things that are required and the things that are going to make your experience life changing by joining us at the Travel, Move, Do Business virtual conference for South Africa. So we'd love to have you join us. The link is in the description. You'll hear from us, you'll hear from the experts, and you'll connect with a like-minded community of people who will also be making that journey to South Africa as well. So I cannot wait to see you at the virtual conference. Click the link in the description, and I'll see you then. Until the next video.